really do that.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Hello, everybody. So, okay, this is episode 14.
14.
14. And we left off last time as it was coming up on the holidays. We were in the new house,
Mm-hmm.
and things were seemingly okay between us. There wasn't very many arguments as we were just still in reconciliation stage, sort of.
Yeah. There was still, we were still having ego attacks.
Oh, yeah. Lee was working, and he was working a whole lot in the line of work he was in. And it was around the holiday season, and he was working a lot. We had just gotten over the whole other house check thing. And Lee was coming home, and it just wasn't right. I felt like he wasn't really who he is, and he was coming home. And when he did come home very late from working so long hours, then it was more stress where we were dealing with financial issues and the bills, and so it was a stressful time. I learned to become selfish again, and what I wanted from Lee was a smile, to hold my hand, a moment, and I didn't know how to get that because he was working so much, and when he did work or come home, it was very stressful. So I can remember one night in particular, and let me backtrack just a little bit. At this point in time, I had begun living a double life again. Like I said in the last video, I had this vendetta against men, and I needed to get back. I felt this need to get back at men, so I created a whole different persona, a whole different name, a whole different person. And I began to get on these websites, and I began to see different men at different times for how do we call it? It was torture, sort of. Men who wanted me to kick them or to hit them or bite them or so many different things, but it was pretty brutal. And I would do this when Lee was at work, or always when Lee was at work. He didn't know, and so it was very stressful for me to be living that type of lifestyle. And then when he would come home from work and I was needing real live attention, holding and hugging and such, and the bills were just piling up. Well, one day in particular, I just remember feeling like I don't think I can do this anymore. I don't think he can come home and be such a grouch, and I just needed a moment with him, just one. But then it got more selfish, but that's how it goes, right? So he came home, and he had that look on his face like he had had a rough day, and his back was hurting, and they had worked him to death. And as soon as he walked in the kitchen, I was like, hey, I made the car payment, because as soon as he came in the door, he started on the car payment. And I had made the car payment. However, it was with another one of those checks from an old account. Actually, it was from my old account at that point in time. But I knew that it would give me a couple days that he hadn't any stress relief or some stress. He hadn't any stress over it. And I can remember him smiling, and he was so happy. And it looked like he had a ton of weight lifted off of his chest. And we had a nice romantic evening, and there was kissing and there was hugging, and it was definitely what I was after. And the consequences in the back of my mind were always there. They were always there. I knew it was coming. I knew when he found out that it was going to be ugly. I also had confidence in our connection that I could apologize and it would be okay. But I knew it was coming. It's hard to justify because I felt like it was worth it to me just to get him to smile and not be so stressed out and to get some attention from him. So a few days went by, and he came home, and as soon as he walked in the door, we're standing in the kitchen and the phone rang, and it was the car company. And as he's talking to them, I see his face and I hear his demeanor change, and he's given me this evil look. And I knew what was happening, and he hung up the phone and he looked at me and he said, "Why do you keep hurting me?" And I just started crying. I didn't know what to say. What could I say? What could I do? It was just ugly. But we actually got through that.
Yeah. At this point, for me, I was learning forgiveness at a different rate. And most of the time, I would tell you that my crown chakra was completely lit. So I could see all the sides to everything. And I started to really feel even deeper for you during that time. It was a form of enlightenment for me to have to really try to understand where this was all coming from in her. It was difficult, and it was painful, but the pain was something now that I would just absorb rather than, save some pain for later. I just didn't see the point of suffering. In the current job that I was at that time, I was working in high performance in all gears. And I literally was driving results. That's what I was doing. That's what I was meant to do. Being that, I was really raised to be a provider, it was just something that I had instilled in me. So worked that out with of course, the car company and got that all fixed. Mm-hmm. And, then here we are coming into Christmas.
We had a couple of really bad arguments over it, and I just fell over myself apologizing, and we got through that. Yeah, but it was coming up on Christmas, and it was stressful. And
Christmas is usually a time of year when, you celebrate with family. Somehow or another, it was instilled in Sherry that Christmas needs to be all about the material rather than the love, which for me, I grew up pretty much missing most of the Christmases. I didn't even see the point. Every day to me was Christmas. I just didn't see what you experienced, and of course I didn't experience that either. So, every year that we had been together, I always tried to make sure that, you were taken care of, the kids were taken care of, and that's how that worked. But this time we had a different responsibility. But that didn't play out like it was supposed to.
You want to explain that?
Well, money was spent. And of course the bills weren't going to stop. They don't ever stop, do they? And, we had this big, huge Christmas. She always takes care of her girls, and of course Cameron. And I do what I can for my son, and that was pretty much the way Christmas went down. I remember, Christmas, the girls were there, and Cameron, and actually it was just Kelsey and Kia and Cameron, and they came over and did the presents and the whole big thing. Got a ton of pictures. It was really nice. It was really nice to have them all there. And I think that was we decided to go out for New Year's.
We didn't go out for New Year's that year. We sat at home and watched the ball drop.
Did we? Yeah, we probably did.
Yeah, we had friends that got really mad at us.
Well, they just posted pictures from 2012.
That wasn't 2012. That was the year before.
Was it? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we knew what happened on that one.
Yeah, that was another night.
Yeah.
We didn't have the money to go out that New Year's. As a matter of fact, we didn't have the funds to spend on New Year's Eve.
That didn't stop you from asking me to go.
No, you're right. I wanted to go, but then we were not in a very good place. We were not in a very good place, and I knew that, or I felt that. I knew that we wasn't in a very good place. Not financially. I mean, with us, we just weren't in a very good place.
Right.
But New Year's Eve did come, and we spent it. The kids were in bed, and we spent it just together, talking and making promises and vowing for this year to be the best year ever, and that we were going to be honest, and we were going to talk about everything, and we were going to communicate more, and I meant those things when I said them, and I know that he did too. I know that he did, because and I know that I did. I know that I meant them, and so it goes. After the new year comes January, and then regular time, and then he goes back to work, and I was living this double life, and it was a bad place for me to be. I completely lost myself in this other person, and I became evil, and really evil, and I didn't care. I didn't care about anything. I didn't care about anyone. And I had some fines hanging over my head for a while. And they were always in the back of my mind, but I never made an effort to take care of them. I always had something else to do. I was always had something else on my mind, and he would come home from work, and I would try to get that smile on his face, or try to get that moment with him. I knew that I wasn't going to do any of that crazy shit with the checks again. I knew that. I wasn't going to take that route anymore. The pain that I saw in your eyes was undescribable. And when he had said those words to me, "Why do you continue to hurt me?" In the back of my mind, I'm thinking he's never going to find out about this, what I'm doing. And I'm only going to do it for a little while. I'm only going to do it for a short period of time. It wasn't, I'm not sure how I justified it. I don't know. I know that it was hurtful for me. There's no other way to say it. It just was hurtful for me. But something drove me. I was being driven by some type of evil need. And it was pretty bad. And at the time, we only had one car. It was Lee's, so I would take him to work and go do what I was doing, and then pick him up from work like everything was fine. And you really didn't have any idea.
I felt something was off.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that, um, and honestly, there were a couple times I checked the mileage and went, that didn't make sense. And then said, okay, just let it go. Because if it's something going on, she's going to tell you. I mean, she knows not to keep shit from you.
We did
right?
vow to be honest, right?
And during the times that you're going through it, you literally are going through it. Through separation or being together, there's always the merge of coming together completely. Sometimes that merge has its breaking point. So do you want to tell?
Well, I can start it.
Okay, go ahead.
I had went shopping with my mom. Is that what we're getting at?
Yep.
Okay. In doing that, my mom and I pulled back up to the house, and I noticed a police officer that was sitting out by the road. And normally, that wouldn't bother me, but I knew in my gut, I knew in my knower that he was looking for me. And as soon as we pulled in the driveway, he pulled behind us and told me that he had a warrant for these unpaid fines, and he needed to take me. Cameron was with Ron in the house. No, Cameron was with Lee in the house.
Yeah.
Ron was on his way, or Ron was coming later that night to get him. And Lee knew I had these unpaid fines, but he also thought that I was making some payments on them. But that ended up not even becoming an issue. I didn't even get a chance to go in the house. We went in and got Lee, and he let us say goodbye, and I, told him I would call him as soon as I got to where I was going, and try to, get me home. You hugged me. You assured me that everything was going to be okay. You assured me that you were there for me. You assured me that everything was going to be fine. You gave me a hug, and I got in the back of the police car, and they took me away.
So, of course, Ron came, and me and him started trying to figure out, okay, what the hell do we need to do to make this happen? So we started, calling around, trying to figure out what was going on, seeing when they were going to let her go. And of course, at that point, well, she's got a court date, and they're going to hold her till then. It was just crazy. So I'm like losing my mind because this just didn't happen. Well, I mean, what the hell? I mean, was there something else I should have known? So I knew that she had left her purse out in the garage, so I went up to it and got her purse and brought it in and started looking through it. And I was like, what the hell is all this? I mean, there was all kinds of stuff in there. So I started looking through it, and something triggered in me. So I looked through it, and I went, okay, that seems odd. And then, of course, her phone was in there. Well, there were messages on the phone. So I drove myself a little bit nuts because I'm like, this isn't happening. Please tell me this isn't happening. So I went and got the MacBook I bought for her and started going through it. She didn't close anything. So now I'm seeing pictures of men naked, dressed, naked, messages, reading through the messages. I start to dig, and I'm just getting really sick to my stomach. really sick really, really fast. At this point, my anger level and the ego came out, and I was angry.
At this point, I was calling home and not getting answers, trying to call my mom, trying to call Ron, trying to call home, not getting any answers at all, and not understanding why nobody's responding to me. And I'm here, and I just want to go home. And I'm laying up in this bunk, and I'm crying and not understanding why nobody's coming for me or why nobody's responding. And then
I went silent.
I went to court. And the punishment for me not paying my fines was to set them out in jail. So my sentence was 40 days? 40 days. Yeah. 40 days. So I'm trying to call home. I didn't know what to do. I was going to be gone for 40 days. Is he going to be able to handle things at home? The next day was visit day.
So it was about 3 days before visiting day, and I'm just letting it all sit in. And I'm asking the question, why? Why does this have to be? Why can't this be the dream? Why can't this be what this is supposed to be? There's just too much of a strong connection here for this to be like this. And then I realized that I had found something that I'd been missing. The switch. So I went on visiting day. And her mom and her daughter were there. And they were both, I was sitting in between them, and they're like asking, well, what's going to happen? What are we going to do? How are we going to get her out? And I sit there and I look at both of them and I say, I'm ending it. I'm done. And they both just kind of got quiet, like, what? I said, I'm done. I'm here to tell her it's over. I'm out. So I walk in.
It's behind glass with
Yep.
a phone.
Yeah.
Like you see on TV.
Yep. Pick up the phone. She picks up. She says, hi. I say, it's over. I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to know anything about you. Don't ever come looking for me. I don't care. It's over.
I panicked.
I hand the phone to her mother.
There was nothing I could do. I was behind a piece of glass. I couldn't get his attention. I was trying to talk to my daughter to please talk to Lee. Please talk to Lee. Please. And the visit was only, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
If that, 15 minutes.
I did add that I did find the laptop and I did find all the messages, but what was the point?
Right.
It was over.
And
I moved on.
I was devastated. I went back and I began just writing a letter to him, telling him everything and telling him how sorry I was, and again. But I knew something was different this time. I knew that something was really different this time. Like that whole, I really done it this time feeling. And I got a letter like 2 days later that just was brutal. It was really, really bad. Um, it told me what kind of person I was. It told me how much he hated me, how much he despised me, how much he could never look at me again. It said if I tried to contact him, that he would get a restraining order and that I wasn't welcome back at my home. And the next day, I got another letter. I guess he wasn't done.
No, it wasn't.
And that other letter said basically what the first letter said. It just backed it up. Just do not harass me or I'll get a restraining order. I don't want anything to do with you. I'm done. I don't know how many times the letter said, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done. I'm calling my mom about every day, and she's telling me that she's trying to get a hold of Lee, and Lee won't talk to her. That Lee had hung up on her because he didn't want to hear anything about me at all.
That's interesting.
Why?
Because your mom came over and told me you should be done with her.
Right.
Sorry, Mom. I'm just telling you.
Right. I'm sure my mom was telling me that because she was trying to appease me and just make sure that I wasn't losing my shit in there. And I was. It was a mess. I was crying. I was locked up. I didn't have any body at all. No one. I was stuck by myself. Again. On my own hand. Again. And then so many thoughts were going through my mind. Like, he promised he would never leave me. He wouldn't abandon me. He promised me no matter what. He loved me unconditionally. La, 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 la. And it's just not true. It's just never true. And I don't want this connection with him anymore. And he's a liar. And if he really did love me the way he said he would love me, then he was lying. It just so much was going through my head. So much. I would have really bad, evil, mean, destructive days. And I would have just really sad, sick to my stomach days. And I started having dreams. I started having really, really odd dreams. His mother was coming to me in my dreams, and it's almost as if she was consoling me. It's almost as if she was putting her arms around me. She was showing me peaceful things, and I was writing these dreams down, and I was sending them home. That's all I could do. And I can remember one particular night that I just laid there, and she laid next to me in the bed, and she just held me. And I just cried and cried and cried and cried. But it also felt very final in me. But I was even more angry because I didn't want his mom's spirit to be with me, because that was painful too. And I started having these out-of-body experiences. And then I started getting angry. And he's telling me that I couldn't come home. And I'm talking to a friend in there whose husband is a lawyer, and he's giving me advice. We'll get to that. But it was a very bad time, because here we are again, and we are at a worse place than we were before.
No, actually, this time we were right where we were supposed to be. It was final. It was over. It needed to be over. And there's a very huge reason why it had to be over. You see, I had already experienced my death and coming to be awake, and then my death and coming to be awake. Then I had to reach a final death. I wasn't the only one. So what needed to happen for this was it needed to be final. And it was.
It was final.
Stop there.
Yeah, let's stop there. Oh, they're going to be so mad we stop here.
Well, Mike didn't photobomb, so we're good.
Right.
We might not speak too soon. Go ahead, hit the button.
See you next time.